Today's reading in 1 Peter chapter 1 and verses 13 to 16 is perhaps more of a challenge than a promise, but let's read the verses. Wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ, as obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lusts in your ignorance. But as he which hath called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation. Because it is written, Be ye holy, for I am holy. A number of years ago, I was introduced to a book by the late William MacDonald with the title, Be Holy. The title is really taken from our reading here today, but what struck me most was the subtitle of the book. It was The Forgotten Commandment. Holiness and holy living is indeed forgotten as far as this world is concerned. It is increasingly forgotten among Christians, and even when it is spoken about, it is perhaps not properly understood. In verse 15 of our reading, Peter writes, He which hath called you is holy, so be ye holy. In the prophecy of Isaiah, the title that is given to God over and over again is the Holy One of Israel. In his book, The Knowledge of the Holy, A.W. Tozer wrote, God is holy, and he has made holiness the moral condition necessary to the health of his universe. Now, did you get that? The health of the universe depends on holiness. That's why Adam's sin had such a cataclysmic effect upon this cosmos. Again, to quote from Tozer, the moral shock suffered by us through our mighty break with the high will of heaven has left us all with a permanent trauma affecting every part of our nature. Both us and our world have become unholy. But God's desire for the holiness of his people is in no way diminished. That was what he wanted for Israel. In Exodus chapter 19, verse 6, he said, Ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. That's what he wants for us. Indeed, in chapter 2 and verse 9 of this letter, Peter quotes that verse to the Christians. Ye are a royal priesthood, a holy nation. Although this world is unholy, we must be holy in all manner of conversation, as he writes here. In other words, at all times and in all circumstances. That's why in verse 13, Peter wrote, Gird up the loins of your mind. In the ancient world, of course, people would have worn garments with long skirts. When working or walking quickly somewhere, they would be a hindrance, and so they tucked them up into their belts out of the way. So Peter is saying not to let the unholiness of this world with its unholy distractions hinder you or mold you into its unholy way. Indeed, in verse 14 he says, not fashioning yourselves according to your former lusts. That is, don't conform to the disobedient unholiness of the world. Now, there's just one little final thought. There is a promise for the future, and it's found in Revelation chapter 22, verse 11. He that is holy, let him be holy still. The holiness that we aspire to yet struggle to perfect now will be perfectly ours forever. That holiness that is the health of God's universe is the hope that is before us now. That's why Peter could write in verse 13, hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. Let us be holy, for God is holy.